Welcome, and you're listening to the One Man Wolfpack Review Show with your host, Carver Elias. Hello everyone, and welcome to the very first review on my podcast, One Man Wolfpack Review Show. My name is Carver Elias, and I will be your host. Just wanted to thank everyone for downloading and listening to this episode. This has been a dream for mine for a very long time, and I'm just happy to share my thoughts about the latest movies that I've watched and discuss the themes around them. The first review that I've chosen is the movie Ghost in the Shell. Now, in this movie, I will not be talking mostly about what the movie is about. I will be discussing in general the themes and the questions that it raises. Now, I apologise that this review is late. The movie itself has been showing in cinemas for a couple of weeks now, but it's taken me a lot longer than what I've expected to get this podcast up and running. So I do apologise about that. But if you have seen the movie, please let me know what you've thought about it, and please let us send in your feedback. Now, so guys, I just have to state a spoiler alert here at the beginning. I will be discussing some general ideas and spoiler and plot points in the movie. So if you've not seen it, then please watch the movie and come back when you have, and then you'll be able to enjoy the episode, and then we can go further into details about the movie in itself. Now, I believe that it's very important how I introduce how I will be reviewing movies going forward. I'm not a critic by profession, I'm just an average guy who loves movies, and with my podcast, what I don't want to do is just give a rating, because what I truly believe is that everyone's perception of movies are different. If you have 100 people in a cinema watching a movie, everyone will leave that movie with a different impression of what they have seen. So my aim for the podcast is not for me to give reviews, let's say 5 out of 5. I'm not on the rating scale as such as that. What I would like to do is just discuss what I felt about the movie, if I liked it, what I didn't like, and really just discuss in more detail the general themes and discussions behind the movie. What I like to also do is bring in my real life examples and try to illustrate the points that I'm making. And hopefully it's interesting and sometimes humorous look at the movies and how I have perceived the movies. And this is what I want to do, guys. I want to create a community. I want to see what other people are talking about, what other people feel about the movies that they are watching. And this is what I really would like you to do, is just get in touch and hopefully we can have a discussion. But at the moment, I'm going to be discussing what I thought about the latest movie, Ghost in the Shell, starring Scarlett Johansson. With all that being said, let's begin, shall we? Now I'm going to start with a story, a real life story. Now, which, as you probably are listening to along with, may start to wonder how it all relates to the Ghost in the Shell movie. So, please bear with me, and I hope I can bring it all together at the end. Now, this story starts in the year 1999, on a cold morning, sitting in the school assembly, waiting for our information technology teacher, the guy who basically is the head of computing in our school, to give us a speech about the Millennium Bug. Yes, some of you may remember what that was. As we sat in the cold morning in December, on a cold wooden floor, our teacher, who I'm not able to remember the name, started discussing how when the year 2000 comes around, that something called the Millennium Bug will hit all the computers around the world, and we will be driven back into the Stone Age. Now, I believe I must have been around about 10 years old at that time, and I was very excited by the prospect of entering the year 2000. But as I sat there, the teacher was trying to fill us up all with dread about what would happen and how the Millennium Bug will destroy everything. Now, I'm not sure about you guys, but teachers back in the day, that is how they were. Straight up. They just told you as it is. Kids, be prepared. Everything's going to go back to how it was in the Stone Ages. So as a young kid, eagerly anticipating the year 2000, I started looking around at what we were being presented to as our vision for what was about to come up. Now, I used to be watching the children's television at that time, and there was a show called Blue Peter. I remember that they had a special regarding this, and everyone was wearing the metallic clothing, and it just seemed to be a really fun time, and that the year 2000 would kind of just make everything a lot better. Now, fortunately, 17 years after the year 2000, and I don't really feel much has really changed in regards to the way that I perceive what the world would have been after the year 2000. Maybe it was because I was a kid at the time and my idea of what the future would be was based on what I was watching in the movies and the popular culture at the time. I think also what didn't help at the time was being a massive science fiction fan, and I've been watching and grown up around science fiction through TV and movie. I generally had an idea of what I felt that the future was going to be like based on everything that I had seen. So, for instance, I believed that we were going to all be traveling around in space like in Star Wars. Movies such as Blade Runner painted this futuristic environments where I just really fell in love with the notion of what the advancements in technology can bring to us. And I feel that as we are now in the year 2017, that not a lot has changed. I mean, yes, there has been great advancements in certain areas, in certain fields, but I just don't feel that we are progressing at the rate that I expected to be progressing and where I believe generally humanity would have been in the year 2017. I mean, for instance, there are no flying cars, so we're still waiting for that one. If you're wearing metallic clothing, you're probably considered to be a lunatic. And there are no flying hoverboards, such as the one in Marty McFly used to fly in Back to the Future. So I do feel that even though there are some areas where there's been great advancements, like in social media, certain things like technology, I just don't feel are moving at the rate that I expected it to be. Now we take mobile phones for instance. I have a mobile phone that's a few years old and it does exactly everything that I want it to do. The latest mobiles, yes, they're better resolutions, better batteries, but there's nothing really innovative about them that really makes you want to go to the shops and say, right, I need this thing right now because no one else is able to do what this mobile is doing. And I think that maybe the critic or conspiracy theorist within me feels that certain companies hold back on innovating because they don't want to innovate too far ahead. So, for instance, if you're a television manufacturer and you have the technology to bring about a 10K television, but you know that all your other competitors are just doing the 4Ks, you're not going to take that huge leap forward because you've got many more years where people are going to be more than happy to pay high amounts of money to pay for the models whereby keeping it in line with everyone. So I feel that at the moment innovation is at a really interesting point. I feel that we are innovating in certain areas, but as a whole, I'm not really seeing the great advancements that what I expected to be seen as a child. And I believe that this is the main reason why I love science fiction movies so much, especially the ones that deal with futuristic worlds, is that we have visionaries and directors that are able to give us this futuristic versions of what they feel and their interpretations of what the future may hold. And this is one of the original premises that really enticed me to want to watch Ghost in the Shell. As I watched the trailer, I just absolutely loved everything that I'd seen in the movie, in the trailer. And whilst watching the movie in itself, it is visually stunning. So as the movie begins, we realise that technology in the Ghost in the Shell's world is far advanced than the ones that we currently are at the moment. It's got to the stage where the advancements in robotics have been able to lead to people being able to transfer their consciousness into a cybernetic body. The ghost in the shell is referring to the ghost being the soul, the thing that makes humans what we are, and the shell in this particular movie is the cybernetic body that Scarlett Johansson's character is put into. Well, her brain is the only thing that remains of her. And throughout the story, we learn how she got to the point where she is. And it's all about her coming to grips with who she is now. The format that I watched the movie was in IMAX. And IMAX in itself is unbelievable. And I believe that it really elevated this movie to just being good. I think that maybe perhaps if I'd watched it in a normal cinema screen, it might have just been an okay movie. I believe that the visuals is just visually is one of the most stunning movies I've seen this year. The special effects are amazing. I love the cyborgs within the movie, and I just love the general premise behind it. But I do feel that the movie itself, it brings up interesting ideas about what it means to be human, where humanity is leading, and this whole idea that technology is going to get to the stage where we are going to one day maybe perhaps merge with technology, and that robotics and AI is going to reach the level of singularity whereby it's going to be at the level where its knowledge and its intelligence is higher than a human being. Now I think that for me it brings up those interesting concepts, but it never really fully capitalizes on them and takes it anywhere within the movie. And I don't think that the criticism of whitewashing actually helped the movie before its release. It is, I believe, a general issue that Hollywood is facing at the moment. It feels that Hollywood is intent on trying to cast big names actors who generally are not in line with the ethnicity of the original characters. For example, in Doctor Strange, the Ancient One, it was cast as a Tilda Swinton as a female, and also the recent Iron Fist. Now, one thing that I found quite odd whilst watching the movie is that Scarlett Johansson's character is essentially still a human. Her brain is transported into a robot, but for some reason she really oversells trying to walk as a robot. At other times she actually acts like a human being by the way that she runs. So I just didn't find that I found that quite confusing in regards to her acting. One thing I really did love about the movie is the holographic billboards that we see all around the city. Now I'm not sure where the city actually is set in real world locations. I think it's a bit of a hybrid between New York and Japan. But one thing I really loved is seeing these huge holographic billboards that were just sprayed all around the city. Digital billboards, so you had really big, gigantic faces of advertisements. And I really thought that's quite interesting in itself. And I believe that is the whole premise of the movie and my general views. Is that I feel that it has a lot of great ideas that it is trying to present. And it does so in such a visually beautiful way. But it is quite strange for me to think that a movie that really wants you to concentrate on what it refers to as the soul, the ghost in the shell, it's not a really soulful movie. I didn't really relate to the characters as much. I felt that the dialogue between the characters was forced at certain times, and it really made it difficult to feel any sympathy or being able to relate to them. And maybe this is perhaps maybe a mediation on where the current state of Hollywood movies are. I think at the moment, as especially we are reaching to the summer blockbuster season, we are going to be getting a lot of visually stunning movies. But it just seems to me that Hollywood at the moment is concentrating on the shell, what we see, the visuals, the special effects, but it's moving away from the actual plot and the actual story within itself. Let's just say the soul of the movies. And I remember that the movies when I grew up, they didn't really have the best special effects, but the story is always the key. And I think that is the key to any great movie. If you can have a great relationship between those two, then you will have an amazing movie. And I think Ghost in the Shell, if there is probably perhaps maybe a sequel, it really does need to maybe explore that further, explore the real themes behind what it was trying to raise. What is human? What does it mean to be human? Humanity with the way that we're going with advancements in technology, and hopefully a little bit more time to expand the characters and the plot. So in conclusion, I just want to say that I really enjoyed watching Ghost in the Shell. I think for a movie that has an interesting concept, I do feel that it could have maybe taken it a little bit further and explored the ideas a lot. I think there was a lot